You're listening to Best Forevers, a podcast for kindred spirits, a podcast that encourages you to love more on your friends and to further consider the issues that plague friendships. I'm Alysa Lucas, and I'm 150 years old. No, that sounds terrifying. But Best Forevers has reached its 4th podiversary. That's a podcast birthday. And this is the podcast's 150th episode, which... oh my goodness, that's terrifying too. Not terrifying, exciting, but 150 episodes. And thank you to those who have continued to listen since the very beginning back in 2017. So thank you to everyone for supporting the podcast by listening. And today I wanted to reflect on it. I've been doing that on Instagram, and I've been sharing pictures and thinking about the last 4 years. And I wanted to reflect in a different way. I wanted to reflect on what I've learned about friendships since I started podcasting. So I came into Best Forevers with a love for friendship, but has anything changed over the last 4 years? Let's find out. So I'm going to talk about the 4 lessons, maybe 1 lesson per year, that I have learned while podcasting about friendship. Are there more lessons? Absolutely. Maybe there are some that I'm still not complete realization yet, right? So these are the ones that sort of hit me hard that I've thought a lot about in the last 4 years. So the first one is making friends is truly hard. And I think that I knew this coming into the podcast, which is part of the reason why I wanted to start a podcast focused on friends, because I wanted to give advice and tips about how people can make friends. And it's one of the first episodes with my friend Margot. We talk about how hard it can be to make friends. And then certainly that has been a theme throughout, and talking about ways that people might be able to make friendship or extend friendship or maintain it. And hopefully there's been, some nugget of information amongst all of that has helped in some way. But something has occurred to me in the last few years. Okay, so much like dating, there may not be as many opportunities to meet folks face to face, which is why there's so many dating apps now, right? And so I think about a few years ago, and people will be like, oh, I met my partner on Tinder and we're getting married. Almost like it was a secret or something, or that because it was a newer way to make relationships, that people might not have seen it as a valid or socially acceptable way to do that. And I think that finding a partner, however you might do it, face-to-face or via an app like Bumble, is perfectly fine, right? It's your life. Is this the person for you? Good for you, right? And the unfortunate thing about apps, though, for friendship, is they're not as common or popular. So Bumble, which is the app where, for example, women might be able to reach out to men first when they match. And so they also have Bumble BFF. And there's other ways to do it. And, I've tried a couple just to see how they worked. And maybe I should put more focus into that so I can give tips on which apps might be the best for making friends. And topic alert for a future episode, right? But why are apps not as popular for friendship as they are for romantic relationships? And I think that's where apps like art reflect life, maybe. And that is because people spend more time on romantic relationships. That is often seen as the focus, and this could be because we continue to see friendship as less than in comparison to other types of relationships. For example, it's possible that some people may view finding or maintaining their romantic relationship as number 1 priority over trying to find and maintain friends. And I think it would be a mistake to not talk about how the pandemic has interrupted the development of many kinds of relationships for folks, with lockdown, being socially distanced, and even differing ways of coping with the pandemic being a deal breaker for many, has continued to make making friends hard. We do have to consider, though, that loneliness is still an epidemic. It impacts our overall health in a positive way when we have friends. It can be impactful in a negative way depending on the types of friends we have, or if we have friends, and so many other factors. And for young folks, like I think about the college students in my classes, the inability to make friends or to learn and enact social skills we gain from building friendships is likely to have a long-lasting effect because of the pandemic. And certainly this is college students, have had the pandemic. And so maybe that's covered part of their high school or part of college experience. And this is a time when young people make the most friends and develop the most relationships. But then you have to think about even younger elementary school, middle school age individuals who have been home or unable to be less than socially distanced in their time. That makes it, this is when they're developing those relationships maybe for the first time, or having a best friend and then not being able to see him because of lockdown. Like, I think we have to be concerned that going into the future, that for individuals, kids under the age of 18 especially, but college age and younger, have had some of that development perhaps stunted by the pandemic, or at least it's been devastating or disappointing or problematic. It's one of those things, like I see nearly every single day someone posting who is college age talking about how to make friends. But let's not also forget that, when you get beyond the schooling and beyond college and having this opportunity to make all these friends, that being adult can make it harder to make friends because people are set in their ways. They made their friends in college, and adults have also experienced the pandemic. So people have moved, and then it makes it difficult to make new friends because they're in a new location and perhaps haven't been able to go out and interact with groups. Maybe they're like book clubs or other groups in their city or town that haven't been operating at a normal rate because of the pandemic we continue to experience. And so it continues to be hard. And there's even, once in a lifetime experiences like a pandemic, might be more than once in a lifetime soon, but that certainly is something to consider as well. And I have learned a lot about friendship during the pandemic, and that's one of the things that I've seen the most, is that it's made it a lot harder for folks to friend, to make them, to maintain them, to just connect. And isn't that just makes me sad? And even in someone who loves friendship so much and, tries to think of ways to maybe maintain them or make friends and that sort of thing, it's hard. It's hard. And so I guess you're not alone, but sometimes that message is not as comforting as it might seem, because you're just like, well, I want to make friends. So what do you do? What do you do if you're a teenager or you're a college student? What do you do if you're an adult? What if you do if you're a parent? And not only do you have trouble connecting with friends, but you are watching your kids have trouble making friends. There's just a lot going on, and a lot been going on in the last 4 years that have impacted friendship in ways that maybe we've never considered. So, okay, if that wasn't, right out the gate, number one lesson, depressing for folks, those for looking for friends or those hoping their children make friends, there can be a silver lining here. And so the second lesson that I've learned in the last 4 years is that internet friends are real friends. That is, our friends online are our friends. Making connections online is certainly not new, right? Since the dawn of time, or at least since the dawn of chat rooms, online groups, social media sites, and online video gaming, folks have been connecting with others around the nation and the world. But it seems important to take any asterisk that we have on internet friends in any friendships that are created or maintained online. There should not be a distinction between what people might call online friends and real friends. When we qualify our relationships like that, we lessen their importance. And I feel like several millions of people have entered the group chat and would like to have a word about those who say that the friends that they met online are not their real friends. Okay, so certainly I'm not someone who is going to be like, that isn't a friend. So again, I feel like coming into my podcast, I realize that people make friends in a lot of different ways, and there isn't anything less than about it being online, right? But I would say that the pandemic in the last 4 years has reminded us that we can connect with those who aren't geographically close. And if we weren't able to maintain relationships face to face, or we have difficulty making friends face to face, that the internet provides us with an amazing opportunity to connect with people we might never have met if geographic location was the number one reason why people were friends, right? Because there'd be people in California, Virginia, everywhere. I'm like trying to think of states, Massachusetts, right? That I would never be friends with if I haven't met them online. And so of all the social media sites, Twitter is my favorite. I like that it's fast paced. I like the trending topics. I like reading threads from people who have different areas of expertise. Like, I follow academic Twitter, and there's this Twitter and that Twitter. And basically, it's different than Facebook in the sense that I feel like I'm able to make friends with people who aren't within a very specific network of friends, right? And unlike Instagram, I can type my thoughts without having to have an image, and I can use GIFs, which are the things, I guess, that make me happy. And any small thing that makes us happy, we got to go with it, lean into it, do it. So I like to spend a lot of time on Twitter. Okay, it's another episode or conversation whether or not I might have an addiction to social media, as we all probably do. But like I said, different episode, different time. And the reason why Twitter is my favorite is because I made a number of friends here, and I look forward to interacting with these friends via this venue, seeing what they post, pictures of their dogs, their thoughts on a particular topic, being able to interact with them in messaging, the DMs, right? Friendship. You don't have to slide into someone's DMs like a romantic, but you could just be like, hey, what's going on? And we're friends, yay. Right? And I think that although Facebook going down for part of a day was devastating for many who do connect online, I am part of probably too many Facebook groups. But in these Facebook groups, there are many conversations and laughs and thinking of other people. And this made me think of you. And this is funny, and tagging people in things. And you know what? That's exactly what friends do. Have conversations and laughs and share things with each other. And that's because, we are friends. And so I think I believed this coming in, because I am enthusiastic and excited about any kind of friendship. So anything that has an inkling of friendship, I'm all about it, including the internet. Maybe I didn't have as many internet friends when I started this podcast as I do now. And so maybe that's more of where this lesson is rooted, that it was a reminder or a way to build more friendships, right? Whereas maybe I spent more time face to face because that's what I've known or that's what I do, but that isn't the case for everyone. And so people make friendships online because it's more convenient, it's easier, it's less awkward, we're in lockdown. I mean, the reasons can be endless. And so with so many people making those connections online, I think it's critical to say, that we don't minimize the importance of that friendship by saying, oh, well, we're internet friends. No, we're friends. We just happen to meet on Twitter or on Instagram or in this Facebook group. So I want to hear about and I will call it this just to clarify, internet friends. Who are your friends that you've met online? How did that come to be? How is that been the same for you as your other friends? Have they been more important? Are they closer? I do want to know more about those friends and those friendships. So be sure to connect with me on Friends with Alysa on social media. On Twitter, it's friendsw@Alysa, or friendswithalysa@gmail.com, because I think there's so many stories here where people have connected over the internet, and we need to celebrate those. We need to make those stories more widely known so that we can sort of erase that asterisk that might be on the end of that internet friend label. So I think now going into the third lesson that I've learned since I started podcasting is, I've met a lot of people, and you're probably thinking after number one, like, oh, great, no one likes to show off, right? Is that making friends is hard, but doesn't necessarily mean that I've created friendships with people. I've been able to create friendships with folks who are also podcasters and people who listen to the podcast that I host. I have been able to learn a whole lot about other people's experience of friendship. And I think that is one of the best parts of podcasting and doing Best Forevers is I think it's accurate to say that my entire life has been about friendships. Wanting friends, making friends, maintaining friends, wanting others to have friends, and even sometimes ending friendships when it seemed to be the best plan. They say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but this old friend needs to learn more, which may lead to learning some new tricks about friendship. But, being informed and thoughtful about other people's experience of friendship is critical. And that is probably something I would agree with, 4 years ago, Alysa. But I think that I truly have had more knowledge provided or understanding more people's experiences, or just even being on Twitter, for example, and seeing people post things. And all of that together has accumulated things that maybe I don't know about friendship. Although I've spent my life loving friendships, it doesn't mean I know everything about it, right? We can still learn new things or understand new things or realize that maybe we've been missing out on some things. So I've learned from folks that some people might refrain from friendships because of past pain, right? Events that were so traumatizing that they don't want to make friends because they don't want to be hurt again. And this is something that we talk about in my dark side of interpersonal communication class. And not so much that something like that is the dark side. What it is a point that we talk about is that not everyone might be willing to have relationships or be in relationships because they don't want to get hurt. And I think of that meme with the guy like pointing at his head, like, you can't get hurt if you don't have friendships. And so we have to respect that not everyone's going to want friendship in the same way that I do or that you do, or that friendship is going to look a little bit different for everyone. Not everyone's going to want 3,000 Facebook friends. Not everyone's going to want some large 20-person friendship group. Not everyone's going to want a best friend or have a best friend. That we need to understand that the experience of friendship is diverse, and people's experience is gradations, right? Like it's not black or white. It's not like you have friends or you don't have friends, that there is, I don't want to say this. There's 50 shades of gray. I also use this. This is not a joke that I just came with off the cuff. I talk about this in my lying and deception class, that, it's not like you lied or not. Like there's all these shades to telling a lie or being deceptive. And I'm not saying friendship is deceptive. I'm just calling myself out for telling a joke that I probably used this week in my lying and deception class. But my point is that there are many shades of gray. There's many shades of beige. There's many shades of blue, green, purple, yellow, etc. And that what it means is that people just have those different experiences. And one of the things that I can do as someone who loves and respects friendship and is trying to tell stories or trying to solve problems or give advice or celebrate friendships is that there's a whole lot more that I can share, and that I can talk about issues, or that I can celebrate, that I can give advice on once I know more about it, right? That being informed and thoughtful about other people's experiences is something that I think that I've perhaps sharpened during the last 4 years. And it is certainly a lesson that I continue to learn. I saw an image making rounds on Twitter and Instagram where a dad was sharing what his son had asked for his birthday. And basically, the kid wanted friends. There's 2 items, and one of them was friends. His son is autistic, and he says that his son doesn't have any friends, but it's basically all he wants in life. He wants a friend. And to me, this is devastating. I believe that everyone deserves friends if they want them. And I, as someone who loves friendship, also want friends for this boy because that's what he wants, right? Like, he's saying he would like a friend. But truly, I am not an expert in autism. I don't know what the experience of someone, with autism experiences. I don't know what it's like for parents of autistic children. And I don't know what autistic individuals' experience of friendship are. And, it's not saying that everyone who's autistic doesn't have friends. Again, there's gradations, but why can't that be something that we learn more about and that we can bring awareness, or we can celebrate friendships, or we can talk about the difficulties, or maybe we're missing out on something that we could be doing for folks who are learning how to be little people, right? Yeah. Kids, all of a sudden they're like these like babies, and there's just like which way is up, and then all of a sudden they look like little mini adults, and then they're growing into who they're going to be. And there's lots of things that they're learning and skills they're developing. And the skills of making and keeping friends is part of that experience. And maybe there's something that we're missing and sharing with folks, whether it be in kindergarten or, elementary school and middle school, high school, college, and beyond, right? So I think that's one of the ways that we can go. That it's thinking about folks who have different experiences that might not always be positive, or that we need to understand that not everything that we see as negative, is negative, that it might be stigmatized, or that we don't have a lot of information. It makes me think of how we approach the dark side of communication, right? That there are things that are inherently seen as dark, right? So we can talk about infidelity. Most people might say that is inappropriate, it's dysfunctional, it's toxic to the relationship. And then there's a group of people who say that the infidelity in their relationship made the relationship stronger after that particular affair occurred, right? Not everyone might say that. But also people might say that social support is absolutely and inherently positive and good until you have someone who doesn't provide you good support, right? Like, so if you receive poor support, that seems like that could be problematic or dysfunctional for the relationship. And so I think that's what we need to consider, is that there are different types of experiences. Some are negative, some are positive, and we need to know what they are. What can we do to maybe solve some of the problems of the dysfunction? And what can we do to celebrate all the positives of those relationships? So in addition to that, there are things that can be learned about folks that don't want to make friends because it's traumatic. And that could be because of bullying or social aggression or other concerns that might start in school and then continue to extend into adult life. It makes me wonder what we do, what more we can do, or maybe what more effectively we can do to talk about friendships throughout life with an appropriate discussion for folks' age and development and the different types of experiences they've had. As I mentioned earlier, I also think understanding how parents help their children make friends and help them navigate those relationship difficulties when they are still developing who they are is absolutely critical. This point of view, I think, opens up a whole lot of conversation about what might be happening at different age groups and when it comes to friendship and what that might look like if there's bullying, or if a kid is autistic, or there's something else that might be in play. Essentially, there may be a number of reasons why making and keeping friends is hard, and these reasons are important to explore. And although I'm not an expert on a lot of those topics per se, like autism, I am dedicated to increasing the attention to these types of gradations on the podcast. So I want to find those people who are experts, and I want to talk to them about it so that we can understand it. We can talk about it more. We can celebrate friendships. We can work through issues. And that is something that I'm grateful to have learned, because I think it expands the reach and the importance of the podcast. And truly, I've just maybe in 150 episodes missing out on some things, and we can get those covered here on the podcast. So if you think there's something I should cover, or you think I've been missing something in the previous 149 or even in this 150th episode, please reach out at friendswithalysa@gmail.com. So I would say my last lesson, like there's so many, but here's 4 of the last 4 years, that this is something I think I've probably learned more recently, and that folks, whether friends or not, deserve grace. 2 weeks ago, I covered the topic on the podcast, I'm a bad friend, which focused on the idea that some things, for example, anxiety, may make us feel like bad friends. Or maybe anxiety does temporarily make us be less than good friends. But is this when we need friends the most? Or maybe this is when we need understanding friends the most. In the 4 years that I've been podcasting, I would personally say that anxiety, depression, my work, and the pandemic has made life increasingly harder, right? And pre-2020, all this may have been true minus the pandemic, but it makes me think that friendship includes a quality that I haven't talked a lot about, and that's grace. Sometimes I may be a bad friend, and sometimes my friends may be bad friends, and that's okay. And why is that okay? Because life is hard and we're all doing our best. And I think that is an important approach to have towards my friends, myself, and those around me. It reminds me of something my friend Tierney has said about romantic relationships. And I'm going to paraphrase this. And so, Tierney, if you're listening, feel free to correct, amend, add, delete, etc. As long as both people don't fall out of love at the same time, the relationship will be okay. I take this to mean that as long as one person is invested during the struggles, the relationship, the two partners will come out the other side okay. Certainly, this doesn't mean that we should have relationships that are only one-sided, where we're only contributing, we're only giving, and we're not getting anything. But I think we need to consider that, in line with Tierney's example, that both partners may experience struggles, ruts. I mean, there's always been that discussion of like a midlife crisis. Some people talk about like quarter life crisis, that there are certain things that happen. People can lose jobs, they get new jobs, we change and we grow, and sometimes we shrink and we grow again, and we struggle. And so we have to consider that at times we might not be the best partner, but we make it through because of the support of our partner. And they will do the same when their partner is going through something. So I think we can apply this to friendship as well. We might be the friend that struggles. We might see our friend struggling, but we can be there during their struggle, giving grace and knowing there will be a point when I will also struggle and would hope to get the same grace. And I think it might eliminate some of the difficulties that we do have in friendship if we understand that generally we're all doing our best and things are hard, and they're especially hard right now. But that we can check in on our friends and know that maybe they won't get back to us in a couple days. It's going to be okay. And then they'll come back and check in, and then maybe they need to take a break, and then they come back, right? So it's just the idea that the ebbs and flows of relationships, especially friendship, could really use some understanding, especially knowing more about people's like anxiety, depression, autism, whatever the case might be, is that we all deserve some level of grace, and we can give that grace to other people as well. And like I said, I think that is something that has been on my mind lately. So perhaps you might see an episode dedicated to grace and talking a little bit more about what that might look like in friendship. And so I do often talk about these are the qualities of friendship, right? There's enjoyment, similarity, support, fun, keeping secrets and confidences, but maybe it's also grace. I'm friends with this person because they give me grace, and I return the grace to them. So, friends, after 4 years of podcasting, I feel like I've learned a lot about something I've loved so much. And these lessons make me love friendship even more. And you might be wondering at the beginning when I would say, do I still love friendship? I do. I still love it. I've made friends. I've learned about so many friendship origin stories, which are so fun. I've observed so much friendship in the media, and I've met folks that have taught me something new about friendships or revealed something to me that allowed me to discover some things that I need to know more about. So for that, I thank you. I thank you for listening, for sharing, and for friending. I look forward to the next 4 years tackling old and new friendship issues, and maybe this old friend can learn some new tricks. And of course, doing what I can to bring attention to a relationship that is so lovely, but simply does not receive the attention and respect it deserves in our society. But I certainly hope that you'll continue with me on this friendship journey. So until next time, friends, think about what you've learned about friendship in the last 4 years, because without our friends, who would we be? Thanks for listening to Best Forevers. If you like what you hear, be sure to subscribe, rate, review, and of course, share with a friend. Please be sure to follow Best Forevers on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Best Forevers Pod, and I'm at Dr. Alysa Lucas on Twitter. You can always find the podcast webpage for more information at bestforeverspod.com, and share your stories of friendship by emailing me at bestforeverspod@gmail.com. And if you'd like to support the movement to love on our friends more, check out the podcast on patreon.com/bestforeverspod. Now, friends, check out this recommended podcast that you must get in your ear holes immediately.